Hey everyone, today I'm going to take this old Disston backsaw, get it cleaned up and sharpened, and see if I can make it perform just as well as a $200 modern saw. I picked up this old 12-inch backsaw from an auction site for 20 bucks, and even though there's a lot of rust and pitting and the teeth were in really bad shape, the saw plate itself was straight and the handle was in good condition, and I thought this would be a good restoration project. So the first thing I need to do is get the handle off and try to do that without messing up the threads of the medallion and the saw nuts. I decided to leave the back on the saw plate for this. It's in good shape and the plate's straight, so no reason to mess with it. To get the rust off, I'm going to go ahead and start by soaking everything in some simple green. For the saw nuts and medallions, I'm going to soak them in this mix of Tide laundry detergent and water. After letting the plate soak for a couple hours, I'll use this razor blade to scrape off any of the big chunks or paint or anything else that's accumulated on the saw for the last 100 years. Also, right in the middle of scraping, I applied this other cleaner called Grease Lightning. It has a little bit more of an acid to it, so I didn't want to leave it soak on there for very long, but the simple green just wasn't working well on its own. And after getting all the big stuff off with the scraper, I'll clean the rest of the metal plate and back using a combination of a maroon Scotch-Brite pad and some 400 grit wet dry sandpaper. Once I've gotten as much of the rust and grime off as I think I can, I'll soak the whole saw plate and back down in some WD-40 to keep it from rusting throughout the rest of this process. I'm happy with how this saw plate and back turned out. There's a little bit of pitting that I won't be able to get off, but this isn't going to be a museum piece, it'll be a workable saw at the end. With that being said, if you guys know a quicker and easier way to get these saw plates cleaned up without using something acidic like vinegar, I'd love for you to drop it in the comments below. The next step is to finish cleaning up the saw nuts and medallion, and that couldn't be any easier after letting them soak in this laundry detergent and water mixture. I'll clean everything up with a wire brush and then give it a little bit of shine with some 4/0 steel wool. Again, I'm not trying to make these parts look brand new, just trying to get the dirt off and brighten them up a little bit. With all the metal parts done, I can turn my attention to the saw handle, and this one was in really good shape. There was some paint stains and marks and dents and stuff on it, but not really bad at all. So here I'm just using some paint thinner and a green Scotch-Brite pad to clean up all the parts of the side of the handle. To get all the hard to reach areas, I'll clamp the saw handle in my vise and then cut more strips of maroon and green Scotch-Brite pads. Soak them in some mineral spirits and just kind of work throughout the whole handle to get rid of all the really bad dark spots or stains. And this is what the handle looks like after about 5-10 minutes of cleaning. And here I'm showing you a problem I always run into with these old saws, and that's that my big fat hand never seems to fit in the handle right. And I always get this little pinch or irritated spot right there where I'm feeling. So to fix that, I'm going to put the saw handle in my vise and then use a small file to remove some of the material from that upper horn just to make the handle fit my hand a little better. And once I've formed a shape that's comfortable, I'll come back in with some emery cloth and greasing grits of sandpaper and then eventually some green Scotch-Brite pad to clean up and match the finish of the rest of the handle. And here you can see where it's barely noticeable where I made any adjustments at all, but the handle just fits my hand a whole lot better, and I got a little bit of gap there where it was pinching me before, and this will just be a lot more comfortable to use in the future. And to add a little bit of protection and put some finish on the handle, I'm going to use a little bit of shellac. I'll put 2 or 3 coats on the way you see here, and I'll give them 20-30 minutes to dry in between coats, and then I'll knock back the finish using some 4/0 steel wool. And here you can see the results. A nice dull sheen, but you can still see the paint marks and dents and just nice patina on it. The part of the saw in the worst condition was also the most important, the teeth themselves. Here I'm trying to joint the teeth flat so I can see how bad a shape the saw plate's really in. Unfortunately, after joining the teeth down as low as I could, I put the saw plate on my table saw as a flat reference and shined the light behind it, and here you can see just how bad a condition the plate's actually in. Because the saw plate was in such bad condition, I decided to put it back in the vise, take my mill file, and clean the teeth completely off, get the saw plate flat again, and then start from scratch cutting in new teeth. filing the new teeth, I'm going to use this paper template. And here I'm just applying a little bit of glue on the back of it, and then I'll attach that to the saw plate itself. The template's super simple. It's just 14 lines per inch, and I have standard size printer paper, so I had to match two pieces up. But once those are glued up, I'll just take a small triangular file and start a little notch on each line. I ended up just taking 2 light file passes on each line. Then I could come back in, take the template off, take a look at the saw plate, and you can see here where there's just a little notch indicating where each tooth is going to go. Once I'm happy with how the saw plate's laid out, then I can come back in and start deepening or shaping the teeth. And to sink the teeth in, I'm just filing straight across as if this were going to be a rip saw. It'll ultimately be a hybrid or a crosscut saw, but just focusing on one angle at the moment. And once the teeth are properly shaped, the next step is to set the teeth. And that involves using this tool to bend every other tooth on each side of the saw plate outward. And that just helps the saw clear any sawdust and not get stuck into the kerf of the wood that you're cutting. And now's a good time to mention that that book sitting on the back of my workbench there is called Set and File by Matt Cienci and published by Lost Art Press. It's a really great read if you're getting into sharpening hand saws or restoring hand saws. It just has a lot of good tips and tricks in there. I learned a bunch, including how to adjust or make some modifications to this saw set that I'm using to easily work on smaller saws, and just a better order of operations to sharpen in general. I was able to tell huge differences after following the processes in this book compared to how I've done it in the past. And once I got all the teeth set, I'll come back in with my file and joint the tops of the teeth one more time. This will just get everything nice and level, and then I can start focusing on sharpening the teeth to the proper geometry. I'm going to try something a little bit different on this saw, and I'm going to sharpen it to a hybrid cut. And that's basically going to be a 10-degree rake and a 15-degree fleam. And that geometry is just a little bit between a rip cut saw and a crosscut saw. And my thought process here was that this would be a good geometry maybe to have one saw that I could use for everything, tenons and crosscut joints and everything else, and not have to keep grabbing different saws for different operations. I thought this would be a good experiment, and later in the video we'll compare it to a dedicated crosscut and rip saw from Lie-Nielsen. And if I don't like the geometry, I can always change it in a later sharpening. Here you can see I'm using a little guide at the end of my file, and this is from Veritas, and it just sets the angles that you want to cut the teeth or file the teeth at to give you a good visual reference when making the cuts. There's a bunch of ways to do that. You could get a wood block and cut the right angle into it, or make lines on your saw vise to follow. Either way works. I've done it a couple of different ways now, but the file guide definitely makes life a little easier. And so I'll just file every other tooth at the proper geometry, and then flip the saw plate over and file the other side. Then I'll take the saw plate out of the vise and give it a good inspection to make sure that I got all the teeth nice and sharp. There's no dull or flat tops on any of the teeth. And once I'm happy with that, the last step here is to, in my case, I'm using a diamond file to stone the edge and get rid of all the burrs that would be left over from the saw filing process. And once the saw plate's completely refinished with brand new teeth sharpened and set, I can reinstall the handle. The final step to finishing up the saw is to apply a couple coats of paste wax to the saw plate and the handle. This will give a little added protection to the handle, help keep the saw plate from rusting, and make it just a little bit easier to cut through the wood when sawing. After everything's back together and waxed up, I'll take a couple of test cuts. Here I'm taking some test cuts in the crosscut section, and then I'll take another couple of cuts, also checking how it cuts rip with this hybrid tooth geometry. And then I can finally make some comparisons to more of the modern maker saws. I have two Lie-Nielsens, a carcass saw which is crosscut, 14 points per inch, very similar to this saw, and I'll also compare it against a dovetail saw that I have. My goal for cleaning up the old Disston was to have a saw that could cut well on the rip and cross cuts for those times where I'm feeling lazy and I didn't want to grab for two different saws. And I think I was able to accomplish that. The saw plate on the Disston's a little thicker, so it leaves a thicker kerf than the two Lie-Nielsen saws, but the finish was equally as good on all three saws. And I've always struggled if I tried to use the carcass saw cutting a rip with it tailing off at the end to the right. You can kind of see it here. But the Disston doesn't have that problem. So all in all, I think I accomplished my goal. This saw works great cutting rip cuts and cutting cross cuts. So it'd be great for all kinds of joinery and only able to use one saw. I'm really happy with how the finish turned out. I wish there was a little less pitting on the saw plate, but that is what it is. But overall, very happy with the project and how the teeth turned out on the saw. I hope you guys liked the video. And if you did, consider subscribing to the channel. Definitely give the video a thumbs up and consider leaving a comment as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.